The first time Hull and Hawthorne hit Elara was on their wedding night, 1966, in the back bedroom of the big fam houseware. The moon came through the window in a silver blade and laid itself across the quilt like a warning. They had danced at the reception until her feet bled inside the dye to match pumps. And she had laughed because everyone said she was the prettiest bride the county had ever seen, and she believed them. When they finally reached the house, Harlan was drunk on moonshine and triumph. He pushed her against the iron footboard, kissed her so hard her lips split, and when she made a small hurt sound he drew back and slapped her open-handed across the cheek. The crack echoed like a screen door slamming in July. "That's how a man claims what's his," he said, eyes shining with something she mistook for passion. She tasted blood and said nothing, because her mother had told her new wife keeps quiet the first night, no matter what. She lay awake until dawn listening to him snore, her cheek on fire, telling herself this was just nerves, just the whiskey, just the once. She was 18. She was wrong. The second time was 3 nights later when the biscuits burned because she was still learning the temper of the old home comfort stove. Harlan came in from the field caked in red dust, took one bite, spat it on the floor, and backhanded her so hard she saw whole constellations. Old man Silas, sitting at the head of the table like a judge in a black suit, nodded approval. "You'll learn, girl," he said, and went back to his cornbread. Elara knelt to mop the floor with a rag, tears dripping into the crumbs. And that was the moment the house itself seemed to lean in and whisper, "This is how it will be from now on." They gave her the back bedroom with the cracked window that never quite shut. So the winter wind knifed through every January, and the summer mosquitoes feasted every July, she learned, to sleep curled tight as a possum, knees to chest, arms guarding her belly even before there was a baby in it. She learned to walk softly past Silas's chair, to keep her eyes down when Harlan's voice rose, to smile at the bruises in the mirror and call them accidents. She learned the rhythm of cruelty the way sailors learn tides. Harlan's anger came in with the dark and went out with the whiskey bottle. Silas's anger never left. It only changed temperature. By the time she was 20, she was pregnant with Elias, and her body felt like borrowed property. Silas decided the child would be a boy. He declared it over supper the night she told the man. When the midwife lady lies in her arms, Silas plucked the baby away before the cord was cut. "Hawthorne blood," he said, holding the squalling infant up to the lantern like a prize pumpkin. Harlan grinned, proud as if he'd done something more than grunt in the dark. Elara reached for her son and Silas looked at her the way you look at a dog that's forgotten its place. "You carried him. That's enough." She bled for 6 weeks after the birth, infection setting in because Silas said doctors were for rich folks and weak women. She lay in the back bedroom burning with fever, while Harlan and his father drank on the porch, and the baby cried in the next room. She crawled on hands and knees to nurse Elias when no one was looking, whispering apologies into his tiny ear for bringing him into this house. 2 years later, Lila came, small and dark-haired like Alera's own mother. Silas took one look and spat tobacco juice on the floor. A girl ain't nothing, but a mouth to feed and a dowry to pay. Harlan barely glanced at the baby before heading to the barn. Elara held her daughter close and felt the walls close in another inch. The years folded into one another like quilt pieces. Elara rose before the roosters to milk the cows, her fingers cracked and bleeding in winter, her back bent permanent by summer. She cooked 3 meals a day for men who never said thank you, scrubbed floors until her knees swelled, canned vegetables in a kitchen so hot the windows sweated. The beating settled into seasons, spring for planting anger, summer for heat that made temper short, fall for harvest failures, winter for the long dark nights when the whiskey never ran out. Silas took to using his cane after he turned 60 hickory, heavy as guilt. He'd hook it around Alera's ankle and yank when she passed too close. send her sprawling, then laugh until he coughed blood into his handkerchief. Harlan graduated from open hands to fists, to boots when he was drunk enough. They never hit her face after the early years. Harlan said he didn't want the town talking. Instead, they aimed for ribs, kidneys, the soft flesh of upper arms where long sleeves hid everything. She learned to breathe shallow when the pain was fresh, to walk slow so nothing shifted inside and tore worse. She kept a secret jar buried beneath the loose floorboard under the bed. Every egg that rolled under the henhouse and wasn't found. Every nickel from selling extra milk in town when Silas wasn't looking. Every quarter from mending dresses for neighbours went into that jar. She wrapped the coins in rags so they wouldn't clink. Some nights she took the jar out and held it to her chest like a heartbeat, counting not the money, but the years until it would be enough. Elias grew tall and mean, his grandfather's mirror. By 12, he was whipping the mule harder than necessary. By 15, he was sneaking whiskey and looking at his mother with Silas's same cold appraisal. Leila grew quiet and watchful, her eyes following Alara's every move as if memorizing escape routes. Thorne, the youngest, born in 1973 when Elara was already 30 and bone-tired, was different, soft-spoken, quick to help her carry water, quick to stand between her and a raised hand when he got big enough. Silas hated him for it. Boys got dishwater in his veins, he'd sneer, and make Thorne chop wood until his hands blistered and split. One August evening in 1980, the heat was so thick the air felt like wet flannel. Harlan came in late, smelling of another woman's perfume. Elara said nothing. She had long ago learned silence was safer than questions, but Silas saw the knowledge in her eyes. He waited until supper was on the table, then told her to fetch more tea. When she turned, he swung his cane and caught her across the back of the knees. She went down hard, bowls crashing, scalding tea soaking her dress. Harlan laughed and kicked her once, twice, in the ribs for good measure. Leila screamed. Elias smirked. Thorne, 7 years old, ran and hid under the porch. That night, Elara lay on the floor where they left her because moving made her vomit blood. She stared at the ceiling and made a promise to the dark. One day she would leave this house or die in the trying. She almost died in 1985. Silas caught her counting money in the barn. She had $342 saved by then and flew into a rage that a woman on Hawthorne land dared own anything that wasn't his. He and Harlan dragged her to the smokehouse, tied her wrists to the rafters with baling twine, and took turns with fresh-cut willow switches until her back was striped and wet. She passed out somewhere around the 20th blow and woke to Leila bathing her wounds with cool well water, whispering, "I hate them, Mama, I hate them so much." Elara couldn't speak for 3 days. Her throat was raw from screaming. The doctor came, old Doc Wilkins, who had delivered all 3 of her babies and shook his head at the mess they'd made of her. "You leave, Elara," he said quietly while Harlan was out of earshot. "Before they kill you." She wanted to. God, she wanted to. But Leila was only 15 and Thorne only 12. And she knew what Silas would do to them if she ran. So she stayed. Leila left first. In 1990, she won a scholarship to the University of Kentucky and packed one suitcase while Silas cursed her for an ungrateful whore. Elara pressed every dime she had $987 into her daughter's hand on the porch at dawn. "Don't look back," she whispered. Leila cried so hard she nearly missed the bus. Elara watched the dust settle after it left and felt something inside her chest tear clean in two. Thorne lasted until 2003. He was 29, working construction in Louisville, coming home only when guilt dragged him back. The night he told Silas he was moving for good, the old man swung his cane and caught Thorne across the knee, shattering the cap. Harlan joined in, drunk and bellowing about respect. Thorne fought back. He was bigger now, stronger, but there were 2 of them and only one of him. Elara threw herself between them and took a boot to the stomach that folded her like paper. Thorne carried her to the truck that night, blood on his shirt that wasn't his, and begged her to come with him. She kissed his forehead and gave him the jar now holding almost $6,000 and told him to go before they killed him too. He left headlights cutting through the dark, and she stood in the yard until she couldn't hear the engine anymore. After that, the house was a tomb with 2 living corpses and 1 ghost who cooked and cleaned. Silas had his first stroke in 1997, his second in 2004. By 2005, he was wheelchair-bound, his tongue thick, his eyes still bright with hate. Harlan's liver turned on him the way he had turned on Elara, yellow and swollen and poisoned. He couldn't work the farm anymore, just sat on the porch, drinking what little money they had left and waiting for her to bring him sweet tea and pain pills. Silas died in February 2005, choking on his own spit in the night. Elara found him cold and stiff at dawn. She stood over his body for a long time, waiting to feel something: relief, triumph, sorrow. Nothing came. She closed his eyes with the same hands that had scrubbed his floors and bandaged her own wounds and went to make coffee. Harlan lasted 5 more years, shrinking into himself like a poisoned apple. The last winter he was bedridden, too weak to lift the bottle to his lips. Elara fed him soup, he spat back at her, changed sheets he soiled, listened to him weep about what a disappointment she'd been. One March morning in 2010, she woke to silence where his wet breathing had been. She checked his pulse, found none, and sat down in the rocker by the window. The sun came up red over the fields. She was 71 years old and free for the first time since she was 17. She sold the farm to a developer from Ohio for enough to pay the back taxes and have a little left. She took 1 suitcase, the quilt her mother had pieced for her wedding, and the coffee can that still held a few $100 in roll coins. Leela drove down from Cincinnati with her husband and 2 little girls, tears streaming down her face when she saw how bent and grey her mother had become. They loaded the truck and Elara walked through every room one last time, touching the walls that had held her screams, saying goodbye to nothing and everything. The new house was small and white with green shutters, set back from a quiet creek 20 miles away. There were no willows, only sugar maples that turned crimson in fall. Elara grandma Elara now sat on the porch swing every evening and watched her grandchildren chase fireflies, while Leela cooked supper without fear. Her hands still shook sometimes when a door slammed, and she flinched if someone moved too fast behind her. But the bruises faded and the nightmares grew farther apart. She lived to be 92. On the morning she died, she asked Leela to open all the windows so she could smell the creek and the first honeysuckle of spring. She held her daughter's hand. Then her son's Thorne had come from Colorado when they called and smiled the way she hadn't smiled since the day Harlan picked wildflowers on the courthouse lawn. I stayed alive out of spite, she whispered, voice papery but clear. Turned out spite was stronger than both of them. Then she closed her eyes and slept away, gentle as a candle going out. They buried her under a young dogwood on the hill behind the White House. Every spring it blooms, white and perfect, and the children lay wildflowers at its base the way Harlan once did before he learned fists were easier than kindness. The old farm is a subdivision now, the willows long bulldozed. The house where so much pain lived reduced to foundations under new cul-de-sacs. But the dogwood remembers, and every year it flowers anyway, proof that some things refuse to stay broken.